Now, as the operation in Rafah intensifies, pressure is mounting on Israel to avoid civilian casualties. Speaking to U.S. media on Sunday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had this to say on the operation in Rafah.
Well, I think we're doing the right thing. And now, let me tell you one other thing. We're going to win this thing. Victory is within reach. Those who say that under no circumstances should we enter Rafah are basically saying, lose the war, keep Hamas there.
We can now bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, good afternoon. You heard there from the Israeli Prime Minister. He seems pretty determined to continue.
And he's saying pretty much exactly what he said last week when he held that press conference to say that basically he was not interested in the peace proposal that Hamas had put forward. And what they were proposing is delusional. And that is the message from Israel. We're going to carry on and we're going to beat Hamas, whatever anybody else is saying about the humanitarian situation in Rafah, which is situated right down here in the bottom part of the Gaza Strip, just on the border with Egypt. The problem here, Delano, is that nobody knows what's going to happen to the 1.5 million or so Palestinians who are in Rafah, where they're going to go. They've gone down there from all over the Gaza Strip because they thought that was a safe zone. Now they're being told, well, no, it's not safe anymore. You're going to have to go somewhere else. The problem is there's nowhere really for them to go because much of the Gaza Strip has been destroyed. The northern part is in tatters and they're not able to get out of the Gaza Strip to go anywhere else. So there is a lot of worry about where they're going to go, what kind of conditions they'll be living in, what the humanitarian situation is going to be like, and whether they're going to be, if they stay in Rafah, the victim of this ground offensive. As far as Benjamin Netanyahu is concerned, it's the same message all the way down the line. There doesn't seem to be at the moment any sign of any diplomatic solution in the pipeline. As far as the Israelis are concerned, it's just we're going to continue with this. We've destroyed 18 battalions of Hamas. There are 24, we know, in all. We're going to get another 4 when we hit Rafah, when we send in that ground offensive, and that is our objective. So for the time being, not much else, I'm afraid, in the pipeline as far as Benjamin Netanyahu is concerned.
And behind the scenes, the U.S. President Joe Biden is growing increasingly frustrated with Netanyahu, but the U.S. still has leverage over Israel, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And an interesting report in the Washington Post newspaper this weekend said that President Biden and his top aides are closer than ever to a split with Benjamin Netanyahu, as they no longer view him as a productive partner who can be influenced even in private. That's because basically Netanyahu's decisions over the past few months have all gone against what the US is saying. Basically that he has rejected a hostage deal. Any type of negotiation there has been behind the scenes to try to get the hostages released. What he was doing last week, saying, no, there's no way we're going to accept the proposals by Hamas, while Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, was in the region trying to negotiate some kind of way out of the situation. The second is that he's announced this offensive in Rafah, which the US has said it is not in favour of. And the third is that Benjamin Netanyahu is just maintaining his goal, which is total victory over Hamas, but we don't really know what that means, and that Hamas is an ideology as well as a military movement. It might destroy the military side, but the ideological side will still remain intact, and the leaders of Hamas aren't even in the Gaza Strip. So all of these issues don't seem to be particularly clearly thought out, I think is what the Americans are saying when they're talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, Joe Biden's been quite vociferous in his comments. 2 I picked out for you. The first one saying a lot of innocent people are starving, a lot of innocent people are in trouble and they are dying and it's got to stop. And then another comment which came out just this weekend, a military operation in Rafah must not take place without a credible plan to guarantee the safety of more than 1 million people who are sheltering there. So it's upping the ante on the side of the United States. Is Benjamin Netanyahu listening? Not really, but the US does have the means to cut off the military supplies to Israel. I think what Joe Biden's trying to do here is that he is trying to put pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu to change his tactic, but at the same time he doesn't want to cut off his relationship with the rest of the Israelis because he's seen as being an ally of Israel and doesn't want to put that situation in jeopardy by being too hard on the Israeli Prime Minister.
Briefly, Philip, you showed us that map there earlier of Rafah, which borders Egypt. This operation, as you said, the people trapped there, the Palestinians trapped there, have nowhere to go. Clearly, Egypt doesn't want to see a flood of residents from Gaza coming into its territory.
Okay, two very rapid points here. The first one is Egypt won't open the border because they don't want thousands of Palestinians coming into Egypt where they feel they won't go back. This is going to be a reminiscence of the Nakba in 1948, where Palestinians were moved out of their land, which was then given over to the creation of Israel. They don't want to see that happening, so they want them to stay in the Gaza Strip. And second, they don't want any Palestinians going in there who might be members of Hamas and then can launch attacks from Egypt into the Gaza Strip and maybe into Israel. So those are the two main reasons that Egypt is not willing to open the border.